That is.
It's that time again. Weekly Wednesdays live with the Hoodie Gang. Myself, your host, Kenneth Nell, also known as the Hoodie Guy, and my voice, Shira, who's got a much better voice than I have, especially when she talks about Mind the Gap. And today we've got a very special guest all the way from America. Today is a really international session because we've got Africa, and if Shira, well, she might not intentionally want to do it, but there's rolling thunder. So that noise you're hearing in the background is actual real thunderstorms breaking down in South Africa. I'm sitting in sunny UK, and we're talking personal branding today. So today we're bringing in Melissa, who is a brand genius, particularly around personal branding. And it's not the fact that she talks theory. The key thing about what Melissa does is she gets to the meat of you, who you are. She leans in, finds the uniqueness and brings that to the table. So I'm going to bring her in and switch off my phone because that's never a good thing to have in the middle of a live session. Put the ladies on top and say, hey, Melissa, how you doing? You can hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Shira, you've muted. We want to hear the thunder, lady.
It is quite hectic. So if it gets too much, I will mute myself again.
Okay, cool. Right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Give us a shout out. Tell us where you are, and we'll say hi, especially to our friends from the Philippines and South America. Good to see you guys. So what are we talking about today? Personal branding. It's a thing that a lot of people throw around. You need a personal brand. People say you don't need a personal brand. People say a personal brand is too complex, yada, yada, yada. I hear it a lot of the time. And personally, I might have been one of those yada, yada guys because I thought personal branding was, the thing that people do to make money out of you, where they say, give me a logo and charge me 20,000, whatever it is your currency is. And then I met Melissa. And I realized that your personal brand is a gossip. You know what a gossip is, right? It's the thing that talks behind your back. So when you leave the room, what is it saying about you? And if you think about your personal brand, which is what we're going to discuss today, here it is. There's the thunder. This is live.
This is amazing.
So what does your brand say about you when you leave the room? Are you one of those people who think, well, I don't have a personal brand? Okay. Then I assume you also don't have a LinkedIn profile, and you don't have a Facebook profile, and you don't have email, and you don't have a website, and you don't communicate digitally, in which case you're probably not attending this, which is fine. But if you do, does it compliment you, or does it say bad things? Now, why is that important? If you're trying to get a job, trying to boost your career, you're trying to close a deal, most people will Google you. And the first thing that's probably going to come up is your LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
And what does that say about you?
In most cases, not much.
Yep. What do you think, Melissa?
Yeah, that's we're going to get deep into this, but 100%. I think one of the things that you touched on just now was this idea of, people thinking that they can, that the idea behind a personal brand is you're just going out there, you're just, getting more visibility. It's not that important, all of those things. And I am going to want to talk more on this, but I think the idea is that none of that really matters unless you have the understanding of where you're headed. If you've got no direction, then yeah, you probably don't have a great LinkedIn profile, right? Because you don't know where you're going.
I hate to use the cliche, but I'm going to. If you don't have a direction and you're not sailing, the wind's going to blow you anyway. And
Yes.
the problem is you may end up in a port you don't want to, or you may end up on the rocks and not be very happy about it. And then there's the other cliche, which is if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And the reason
That's a good one.
is because your brand is all about you. What do you stand for? Who are you? And that's probably my biggest learning from working with Melissa is it's not the Canva, like Shira says, the pretty stuff. What did you say earlier, Melissa, about?
I was just saying about your brand is so much more than just knowing what color palette to choose on Canva.
Yes.
Yes.
And unfortunately, so many people are like, my brand is my logo and the color in the background. And what did
That's just window dressing. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just
But it's like the lipstick on a pig thing, right?
Yes.
Well, we're smashing it with all the sayings today.
I'm sorry. It's probably really rude, but just, if you think about it that way, like you can't dress up something if there's no foundation to it. And I think that is what annoys me when I see a lot of people talk about, we'll help build your personal brand. And they do it all over LinkedIn. You'll see it everywhere you go. They'll do it in other spaces, but it's like, oh, and what they're really doing is selling you a marketing tactic. That is not a brand.
Please explain the difference between what you just said, a brand and a marketing tactic. Because I agree. I see so many people selling personal branding and all they've done is window dressing with lipstick.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue is like if you think about being an entrepreneur and you're out there and you're trying to market your business, right? And everyone's coming out of the woodwork to tell you that you need a funnel or you need to just be on more stages or you need to write a book or you need to start a podcast or whatever it is. But there's no like importance or depth, given to those people to help them understand how any of those tactics will actually work for them. They're just selling, this is how to do it. This is the steps to do it. But without understanding things like, what's the ultimate direction? Like, where do I really want to be with this? And I'm not talking goals. I'm talking about that bigger, like, understanding of where you sit in the world and what you really want to achieve, which, by the way, is outside the confines of a business.
Completely. I think so many people confuse my personal brand. I mean, it's a giveaway in the name, personal, but they lose sight of your brand versus the company brand. The company is always a brand. It's got its logo. It's got its own vision. It's got its own values. But who are you? And, I was going through this whole exercise. You can see inauthentic brands. I mean, Shira's had a look at a particular brand that we love. We both like really love. I wouldn't say we love the brand. I love the people, right?
You're being very cryptic.
The Hormozis. We love the Hormozis, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Layla and Alex. I think they're really incredible people in motivating. And they haven't built a brand. They are a brand because their brand and them are like the same.
They're synonymous.
Yeah. And that's authentic. But I mean, Melissa, you've seen, we've been going through this together on LinkedIn. How many profiles have you seen where, right? Tell me the stories. Tell me the story. I mean,
hundreds. Like, so I think when I look at, I think things that pop out to me when I'm looking at profiles are, I think it's very important, of course, to have the offer, right? Like you want to show people what you do, right? But there's no thought leadership, right? Those are the ones that stick out to me, where it's like, okay, I have this business and everything is about that. And everything is in jargon that only people in the industry understand, reposting other people's stuff, all of this. And I'm trying to figure out, well, what do you stand for? what are you really trying to do here? You know, everyone knows you're trying to sell a service or a product or whatever it is. They know that. So forget about that. Put that on the shelf for a minute. Why you? What makes you different? What makes me care about you? That's the stuff that's missing. And the personality and the way that we all connect with people, and I don't care what it is, there's some element of humanism that you connect with when you buy something.
So
I could go deep on the sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, so I was having the conversation, and I've used this example a couple of times, a bookkeeper. If I have 3,000 bookkeepers in front of me, at the end of the day, the net result is a balance sheet, right?
Mhm.
Figures in, figures out. From those 3,000 bookkeepers that are available to me in my area, why pick you? And if you
Yes.
don't have something about you, you resonate with that person. And because we're online now, they need to resonate with your personal brand that you've created, as Ken said, so that when you're not even on your page, they can see this is, oh, I like the way Melissa spoke about this, or I'm into this as well. When we pick up, and you said the word vibe, you pick on someone's vibe, and you're like, actually, I want to do business with that person because of their vibe. But if you never show your vibe, well, if you don't actually find out who you are to start with, and then you don't show people that, then you're just one of 3,000 bookkeepers that can do something, and everyone can do it.
Yes. And here's what's so interesting about it. I think people struggle not so much. There's a couple of camps here. One camp is I don't need to be the face of my business. And as we go into an age of AI, let's see how that works out for them.
Yes.
Going to be kind of a hard answer.
According to Gary Vee, it won't go very well.
Say that again.
According to Gary Vee, that won't go very well.
That won't go very well.
No.
So there's that. But then there's another camp that says, okay, I get it. And I do want to be more visible, and I do want to show what I feel and what I think, but they're directionless. And so what happens is they're like, I don't know what I should talk about. So this is what I mean. They may have very strong feelings about certain things, but they don't actually post things that will make a difference in the world for the people they really want to serve.
It's a conversation I have very often on LinkedIn with a lot of people, is they struggle with their identity, and they're afraid to share their identity.
Yep.
And your personal brand is your identity. And kind of think, if you go back to the 1940s, where men were dressed in suits, they had their fedoras or their hats. Women were always dressed to the nines when you went in somewhere. And you would sit there and you would look at somebody and you go, wow, they're so stylish. They would always arrive dressed. They would always be done well. They would always arrive in the same kind of car. They'd always speak in a particular way. We've never really looked at that and gone, well, that's actually their personal brand. Now, today, that's who we are. Our identity, how do we speak when we're online? How do we close? I'm the hoodie guy. I mean, my personal identity is I want to give you the freedom of choice, and I don't want you to feel like you need to always show up in a suit and tie, which is why I wear the hoodie. And unfortunately or fortunately, very often I arrive in a meeting, or used to, with a collar and tie was the first meeting. The second meeting was a collar. The third meeting was a hoodie. So I thought I'd just cut the collar and tie it right out. But it's that self-discovery. Who are you? That self-awareness, that you need your identity before you can position yourself. And like Shira said, uniqueness of every single entrepreneur. We might sell all the same thing. We might all be bookkeepers, but the uniqueness is you. The brand is you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, one thing I want to kind of talk about a little bit if we can, and that is, I mentioned before, people throwing tactics at you. What I think normally happens with people, I talked about the lack of direction, but what really becomes so valuable and so impactful to people when they do this, when they go through this process of an intentionally developing a foundation for their personal brand, is that the marketing now becomes infinitesimally easier, because you start to put blinders on, you start to see what really works for you, personally, like what works for you in the energy aspect. You are able to and if anyone who wants to work with someone who is in strategy, that's what you should be getting out of this. It's not just like, oh, okay, I know what my values are, I know what makes me unique, I know all this. They should also be getting a plan of action. So when they have all of this, they know, okay, I know I love speaking on stages, and my personality just comes alive, and I get the most bang for my buck on stages. So forget about doing a really highly complex funnel right now that could come later. Forget that. Let me get on stages and let me just have a simplified funnel that leads people to exactly where I want them to go. And let me ignore all of the other things. I don't need to podcast right now. I don't need to, well, you might need a book, but my point being is let's keep this really
Simple.
simple. And then let's get to the next level. And when you're building your brand, there's levels. You will always be up leveling, right?
It's an evolution. It's an evolution. You will discover
Yes.
yourself and grow. Shira?
Okay, so we have a question where it says, first impressions are important. How to create that impression without losing your identity? Now, I would jump in just at this point and saying your first impression is your identity. And if someone resonates with that, then that's already a good connection. If they don't resonate with your personal brand from the beginning, then you probably weren't going to later. And that's what we found with the suit and tie journey of Ken, where we wanted initially this big, it was like this power, like you have to have the red tie with the suit and you have to look a certain way. The problem is Ken is actually a really caring person who digs into your soul and then finds out what you need to do to grow your business and like really digs into what you're selling, and it's because of why you're selling it, and that's why he's really good at what he does. But that doesn't fit the suit and tie. So that first impression of this guy is powerful didn't play into who Ken really is, whereas the hoodie kind of puts people at ease. And you know what, that might not resonate with someone who's trying to build a huge company, but that person probably would not resonate with us anyway, because after 3 or 4
Exactly.
sessions, it's not a fit. So
Can I just
Melissa, I don't know
ask
if you could.
Yeah, I have a question here because impressions are important. How to create it without losing your identity. I'm very curious what you mean by losing your identity.
I,
So if you can pop that in the chat, I'd like to know. But um, I think if I read between the lines there, it sort of seems like there's a bit of a fear of stepping into what your true identity is. I could be wrong. Um, but if that's the case, then I think there's a bigger conversation around this. But I think if you know why you are showing up in a way that you are, there is an absolute direction here. There's a purpose for it and a goal in mind and a vision. There's no more fear. You will speak to the right people if you're there, if you're in that space.
so one of the things, and it's a simple fix, but ironically, it does impact on your first impression. Before you worry about your identity, make a first impression that you complete things. So often I will look at a LinkedIn profile and
Mm,
it's incomplete. There's no
mm,
photograph, or the photograph
mm.
is not right. There's no banner, there's no value, there's no title, or it's about me, how amazing I am. Both
Oh,
of
there's that.
those are going to create a negative impression,
Mhm.
identity or not. The other thing is I always keep in mind the rule of four, the quarters rule. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. 25% of people on this planet and on this platform hate you, no matter what you do. Whatever you try, they hate you. End of story. They're trolls. Then there's 25% of people on this platform who are looking for the slightest thing to hate you. So just look skew and they will troll you. There's 25% of people on this platform and on the planet who probably need a bit of work to like you. The good news is there's 25% of people on this platform who will resonate with you, like you, for you, being you. Now you go, well, there's 1.4 billion people on LinkedIn.
The stats are, the odds are in your favor.
So 300 million people
sure.
will possibly like you. That's a good number. So be you. And, like you said, first impressions are important without losing your identity. So be you. And remember, 25 people out of 100 are going to like you for you. The only thing is you got to toughen up, get a bit of a thicker skin. I mean, I know I share it with Shara. Often I'm doing outreach, I'm talking to people, and I'll get very horrible messages coming back at me. And they've used the C word and they've said certain things to me. And I'm like, why did you even connect with me in the first place? It takes the wind out of your sails. It does. Yeah. It hurts.
Yeah.
But what you got to do, as I think Sylvester Stallone said it. It's not how hard life hits you. It's about how often you can get back up. So when people knock you down, and their trolls will knock you down, get up and be yourself.
Yes.
And that's what we're all about. So when we go through, I keep looking left because I've got like 5 things that I'm going to list off when you start building your brand. And then Melissa's going to give me commentary on those. The first thing is,
let's do those.
Your core
now we know we need it, but like way too.
Yeah. So
yes, let's go.
Ask, what am I naturally good at? It's a simple question. I know what I'm good at, and I'm good at strategy, and I'm good at big game changer thinking. So ask yourself, what are you good at? Then why? What drives you? Some people are driven by money. Some people are driven by creativity. But be that energy that is you. My energy is solving big problems, little problems, solving problems, period. But don't ask me to do the minutiae. Don't ask me to fill in spreadsheets, because I would rather...
True story.
No, don't ask me to do that. And then we always get stuck in this USP differentiation. What's your unique selling proposition? Don't. There's only one USP you need to worry about, and you are it. Nobody else can be you, and you can't be anybody else because they're already taken. We know that. So focus on just being you. That's your USP. And then we're on LinkedIn. So the question is, where do you tell everybody? Where do you show up? What's your voice? How do you get it out there? Well, LinkedIn is pretty damn good at amplifying your voice. Choose a platform. Be a big fish in a little pond before you try and be a big fish in a big pond in lots of ponds. So focus on one platform, get your voice right. And then I say it all the time, proof, social proof. If you tell me you're good, I don't believe you. I mean, let's just ask, why do you look at reviews? When you go to book an Airbnb, when you go to a restaurant, you read the reviews. You don't trust the restaurant's website. So get your recommendations. And then to the point of what Shara said and what Melissa said earlier is your vibe. Do a vibe check, okay? Are the people you're connecting with vibing with you? Damn, I sound like my daughter. It is. Do they vibe? Is your community your tribe? Are they your audience? So those are like 6 points you can go through. Yes, building a brand, like Melissa said, is massive. It's evolutionary. But please, sorry, I have to share this. I had a lady once tell me my brand sucked. I got very upset with her. She compared me to Sony. Like, whoa, stop the bus. Whoa, time out here. You're comparing me, who's had a brand for all of a year, 5 minutes, to a brand, Sony, that came about after World War II, They used to sell bamboo steam cookers for rice. Then they used to drag around a recording device to take recordings in court cases. And that evolved over 30, 40 years. When
Yeah.
somebody says your brand sucks, if you feel it and it's vibing with you and it's vibing with the people you want to connect with, they might be trying to sell you something or they're trolling you. What do you think, Melissa?
Okay, so I don't know where to begin in all of this. What do you want? What do you think's most important in the time we have left for us to cover?
I think guidance questions on how to find my why.
Okay, that's a really good one. I can totally dive into that. Okay. Before I do that, I want to say one thing though. If you're out there and you're listening to us and you are thinking, this is a nice to have, but honestly, I just need new clients or more clients, or I just need to look better because I know I have this next level. You need to think about the fact that you are putting yourself in a position where you're going to be doing, um, putting a lot of effort and time and money into a tactic that either won't be effective for you or will be minimally effective. So, taking the time to get it right, to work with someone like you, to work with someone like me, to actually get these things in place first. That's number one. So, and part of that process is what I'm going to tell you now with the vision. So, when it comes to vision and I'm going to tell you about the importance of that in a second here, but I have various ways that I try to get people to think about it. I said earlier, it's not a goal. Your goal is like, I want to make $1 million this year. That's a goal. I want to work with 500 clients this year. That's a goal. But what a vision is something big. It's something outside, as I said, the confines of a business. So it's more like, okay, what do I want to see the change in the world? What do I feel so completely passionate about that I want to make the change happen? That's a vision. Another way that you can think about it if that feels too big is to say to yourself, okay, at the end of my days, I know it's a little bit morbid, but if I'm at the end of my days and I'm looking back on what I've accomplished in my life, what do I feel the most proud about? Right? And so it could be something personal. But remember, your business is the vehicle by which you find or you make that thing happen. It's why you're in business. So I would say those would be two powerful ones. I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, but if it helps you, work with someone or talk to a friend or something and ask, like, get them to ask you the questions and get them to help you dig down, and you just kind of free form talk about it and you'll get there. You'll figure it out. When you do that, you're going to start to see the connections with all the other pieces of why you're doing what you're doing, what your values are. How do you figure out who it is you really want to work with? What's the messaging? All of those other things that are part of the brand, they start with that vision. Is that helpful?
Perfect. So thank you, Melissa. Tomorrow, the stream will be live on our YouTube channel. I will also be posting it on LinkedIn. And for everybody who said they would make it but didn't make it, we're going to drop the link for you in the chat. I will also be doing a carousel tomorrow morning, which will give you these questions, give you some pointers. Yes, it's a long carousel. It's 18 slides, but I think there's a lot of stuff in it that will help you start building your brand. And as always, if you're stuck, reach out, DM us, connect with us. We don't charge for the first 30 minutes. We're more than happy to have a branding conversation, give you some pointers, help you out. We understand because we were there once upon a time. We were on the other side where we needed help. And there were very good people out there who reached out to me, helped me up. I'm sure you've all got stories. We put our hands up because we know people battle and not everybody's got the budget, which is why we have weekly Wednesdays live. So best you come back next week where we will carry on the conversation. Melissa won't be joining us, unfortunately, but it'll be Shira, the voice, and me. And maybe we'll sneak Melissa back in if she's kind enough on another
Hey,
session.
listen, I'm here for you. So whenever you want me to come in, I'm game.
Lovely. So we will keep the branding coming back. So please join us. We've got like literally 5 seconds. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Melissa. Shira, thank you for sitting through your thunderstorm.
Now it's over.
Now it's over, yes. But we have evidence of it on the live. So folks, follow us on LinkedIn. Give us a shout out. If you're connected, great. If you're not, connect with us. Like I said, it's on YouTube. It's on LinkedIn. It's on my profile. It's on Shira's profile. And it'll probably be on Melissa's profile. So let's chat. And thank you very much for dropping by. See you soon.